In the last lesson, we studied about cryptogams and saw their meanings as hidden reproductive organs, and we saw that cryptogams is a subkingdom of kingdom Plantae and it has three other subdivisions, and we also saw that they are Thallophyta, second Bryophyta, third Pteridophyta. Yes, and we saw about Thallophyta in the last lesson. We saw its meaning as, can you recollect? Yes, it is flat plants, and we saw the characteristics. Since it was studied just small little time ago, we are not going to revise it again. You can look into your notes. Now the remaining two divisions will be dealt with in today's class, that is Bryophyta and Pteridophyta, which are second and the third subdivisions as we saw earlier. Are you ready? I am going to take you on a tour to my garden and we are going to see some of the plants from this division. See, this is not a special garden, and even if you step out of your house, you will see these green things lying around here and there. We don't pay attention, we just stamp on them and go. But these are bryophytes. I'm trying to magnify into them with the use, with the camera lens, so that we are able to see how they look when we take a very closer look at them. The camera might get blurred in between, but you'll be able to see at some point. Can you see? Before going into the characteristics of Pteridophyta, we will see some examples and then try to figure out what are the common characteristics that we can see from those examples. The first example that we are going to see is Funaria. How does it look? This is from your textbook. See, it has something like leaf, something like capsule, and there is something like root. It looks like that capsule looks like a flower, and that is stalk. This is a leaf-like part. This is root-like part. It's called rhizoids. Can you identify the difference? Now, the first one, that is thallophytes, were flat, and see, now we can see the plants are developing a little. Evolution is taking place. Let's see the second example. Mercantia. This also is little different, and let's see what are the parts. This also has a capsule which looks like a flower, and then it has a stalk. It also has leaf-like parts, and you can see some root-like parts at the bottom. You can look into your textbook also if this is not very clear. That root-like part is called rhizoids. There's a third example, Anthoceras. You can see the capsule on top of it. Then we also have leaf-like parts. So far we saw three examples of bryophytes. Now, among looking at these three examples, what are the common things that we come across? They all are green. That is one of the common feature. Second, they are found in moist soil. Third one, the plant body is flat and ribbon-like, long. They have no true roots, stems or leaves. Instead, they have root-like structure, stem-like structure and leaf-like structure. Another important feature of these bryophytes is that they require water for reproduction, because they reproduce by spore formation, and these are carried by water. Now we saw that they require soil for growth, but at the same time they also require water for reproduction. What do you call an organism that requires or that can live on both soil and water, or that requires both? What does this remind of? What category of animal is this? Frog? It's an amphibian, right? Because it lives on water as well as on land. So Bryophyta, because they require water for reproduction and the soil for growth, they are called amphibians of the plant kingdom. Is it clear? Any doubt? Then you can replay the video and watch it. They do not have specific tissues for conduction of water and food. Now we saw that the previous division, that is the division of thallophytes, they also do not have specific tissues for conduction of water and food. Now if they don't have that feature, why are we focusing on it? Because in the coming parts, in the next lesson, we will be studying about little evolved plants which have differentiated xylem and phloem, which are used for conduction of water from ground to the leaves, and from food from leaves to the roots. That's why we are seeing that this is not yet evolved to develop those kind of tissues. I'm going to show you a few more examples of Bryophyta. This is a Dicranum moss, and this is another example of a moss which is called Rixia. So far we saw meaning of bryophytes. Meaning of bryophytes is liverwort of moss, and the characteristics, their special features, they are called amphibians, and we saw few examples. This is the third division that we are going to study now, the third division of the subkingdom Cryptogams. It's called Pteridophyta. Now what are Pteridophyta? What is the meaning of it? Which category of plants are coming into this? What is this? It's a flower bouquet, right? Why are we watching a flower bouquet to study the pteridophytes? Yes, pteridophytes are used for ornamental purposes. You see those some leaves behind. In front we have beautiful flowers, but at the back we have some leaves. Those leaves are examples of pteridophytes. I'm going to show you the plants in my garden. Are you ready for another tour? Yes. Let's see now. See, this is the plant from my garden. I had removed one pot and kept it separate so that we can get a better view. You might have seen these plants somewhere, even in your school garden. Now that you are at home, you might have seen it. Try to recollect if you have seen. The most important thing in this is the back of the leaf, and I'm trying to zoom in to show you the spores. If you can see, at some point the focus might shift, but you'll be able to see the spores at the edge of the leaves. And this leaf is full of spores. Each leaf is full of spores. Anyway, if you're not able to see, don't worry. I'm going to put images of the same. I removed few leaves and clicked photos. We will see little later. Every time when we study any division, we always look at the meaning of that division, what it refers to. That itself speaks about that particular division. So now when we study the division Pteridophyta, we will see what it means. It means fern plants. That is the meaning of the term Pteridophyta. Let us now see one example. This is the same plant which I showed you from my garden. Do you remember? Now on this image we will see the different parts of this plant. It's a fern plant. On top we see leaflets, and then at the bottom we see developed roots. See if you are able to see the sporangia, but it will be clear on the screen. And also I will put some images, magnified images of the sporangia. These help in propagation of these plants. This image is of sporangia in Sorai on leaflet. Next, now what do we observe in these plants, pteridophytes, as compared to thallophytes and bryophytes? What are the unique features? They have well developed roots, stems and leaves. Can you see how the plants are improving and evolving as we study further? They have separate tissue for conduction of food and water. As I said in the previous division, they did not have any separate tissue for conduction of food and water. Food is conducted from leaves to other parts of the plants. Leaves, through photosynthesis, they produce food material. Then water from the ground is sucked by the roots and it is taken up to the leaves. There are special pipelines existing in the plants, in trees, that help in conduction of these things. Now, in pteridophytes it is developed, whereas in the bryophytes as well as in thallophytes we did not find them. But still, these pteridophytes are not fully evolved plants. They do not bear flowers and fruits, that we must remember. They reproduce with the help of spores formed along the back posterior surface of their leaves. That simply means the back of the leaves. I showed you this leaf, this is the front side, and on the back, if you see, you will see spores. Now this will be clear in the next image that is coming up. Can you see these two images? It's a magnified image of the same leaf that I showed you. These images are from exactly these leaves, but little magnified with the help of a camera. So this is how sporangia looks at the back. It can be even magnified further and can be studied how they help in propagation and reproduction of the plants. But now, for time being, this much is enough for us. Now this is another example of a fern plant. It's called pteris. This is also a pteridophyta. This is another example, Marsilia, another pteridophyte. It also grows in many gardens. Next example is Adiantum. You may feel that Adiantum and Marsilia are same, but you see, in Marsilia it has 4 leaves together, whereas in this it is different. So these are two different plants. Then Selaginella is another example of a pteridophyte. It looks like this. So dear students, we saw a little about Bryophyta and a little about Pteridophyta. What are the differences? Can you tell me some differences? Can you try to recollect? We saw these two divisions today and one division few days ago. What could be the first difference? Bryophyta means plants which are like moss and liverwort. Pteridophyta are called fern plants. Bryophyta has flat ribbon-like long plant body, whereas Pteridophyta have well-developed roots, stem and leaves. This is an example of Pteridophyta leaf. Bryophyta do not have specific tissues for conduction of food and water, whereas Pteridophyta have separate tissue for conduction of food and water. Can you recollect few more differences? Yes, Bryophyta have no true roots, stem and leaves. Instead they have root-like structure, stem-like structure and leaf-like structure. While Pteridophyta have well-developed root, stem and leaves. Bryophyta need water for reproduction. They reproduce by spore formation, while Pteridophyta reproduce with the help of spores formed at the back of the leaves. Also, Pteridophyta reproduce asexually by spore formation and sexually by zygote formation. So students, in the last two lessons, the previous one and the present one, we saw the subkingdom Cryptogams. It consists of three divisions. We saw about Thallophyta, we saw about Bryophyta, we also saw about Pteridophyta. Now, what are the similarities? Sometimes ago we saw the differences, which is true, but all three of them come under one subkingdom, that is Cryptogams. So there would be some similarities. What are that? Let's see if you are able to tell me. I'm going to wait for some time. Do they have similar body structure? Do you think so? One is flat, other one has developed roots. No, they don't have similar body structure. What is common in them is all of them reproduce by spore formation. That is a common thing in them. Their reproductive organs cannot be seen, and that is the meaning of Cryptogams also. So this is also another common feature. Now you will tell me what are the mistakes in the following statement, and if it is false, you will tell me the correct one. All Cryptogams have similar body structure. Is it true or false? Do they have a similar body structure? No. It's a false statement. They don't have similar body structure. In fact, each of them are unique. Pteridophytes do not have roots. Do they? Or not? Actually, pteridophytes are the only ones that have roots. So it's a false statement. Bryophytes are the amphibians of the plant kingdom. Is it a true statement? Yes, it's a true statement. Some pteridophytes are used for ornamental purpose. Yes, true or false? It's true. Cryptogams reproduce asexually. This statement is also true. So, how many of you got all right? So dear students, these are microscopic plants. So are they useful or not? Is it alright to destroy them? What do you think? They are so minute. What will happen if they destroy them? Can you think of some effects? What will happen to the ecosystem if these plants do not exist? Don't you think there will be break in the food chain? You have studied about food chains, no? Producer and consumer. If you remove some of the producers, don't you think there will be a break in the food chain and it will affect the entire ecosystem? And for your assignment, I am giving you some work. You will try to find out from net whether any of these plants from Cryptogams, either Pteridophyta, Bryophyta or Thallophyta, whether any of them are used for any medicinal purpose, either in Ayurvedic or any other, traditional medicine, whether it is used. You will try to find out. Alright? So we cannot, destroy without thinking. What can be done to save these microscopic plants from, as a student, what will you do? Do you know something happened recently in Maharashtra? The Maharashtra government declared part of RA forest as protected zone. And you know how that was achieved? It is because of the efforts taken by common people like you and me. Many people wrote to the government, spoke to the government, made videos to protect the forest and everything that is existing in that forest. It's not only tall trees but even microscopic organisms, moving and stationary, all. So we can participate in these activities to save. Apart from that, what other things can you do to save these microscopic plants? So with this, we have come to the end of subkingdom Cryptogams. In the next class, we will study about other sub-kingdoms that fall under Kingdom Plantae. Till then, thank you and bye-bye.